Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We're reaching you live from Abuja. I am Shikeola Ikmanaye. Let's have the headlines. Ending insecurity in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari to confer with security chiefs on Thursday. All Progressives Congress inaugurates 2021 Anambra Governorship Campaign Council. SGF and Chairman Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 appeals to Nigerians to get vaccinated.
Transmission and infection now are coming substantially from the unvaccinated.
Now the details of the news. President Muhammadu Buhari will tomorrow, that is Thursday, confer with security chiefs at the presidential villa, Abuja. The president returned to Abuja last Friday after 18 days in London, during which he attended an education summit and did health checks. The security forces have in the past few weeks taken the battle more robustly to insurgents, bandits and all other criminals troubling the country, and they are now surrendering in droves. The president will be brought up to speed on developments at the meeting, while plans to bring a decisive end to the challenges will be formulated. And from Plateau State, we hear that towards finding a lasting solution to the recent attacks that led to the loss of lives and properties in some parts of Plateau State, Governor Simon Lalong has summoned an emergency security stakeholders meeting to examine ways of restoring normalcy and permanent peace to the state. In a statement by his Director of Press and Public Affairs, Dr. Mark Simon Machan, Governor Lalong, while addressing the meeting at the government house, Little Rayfield Jos said despite the huge investments that have been made in peace building and crime fighting, Plateau is again confronted with activities of criminals who are bent on reversing the gains made in the last 6 years. He said in recent weeks and months, the state has witnessed isolated cases of attacks on some communities in Jos North, Leone local government area, Bassa local government area, Bakin-Ladi and Jos South local government areas, saying farmers as well as herder were either killed or cattle and farm crops destroyed. Houses were also burnt down and people rendered homeless. This act, he said, was most despicable, which brought about the imposition of 24-hour curfew on Jos North local government area, in addition to the dusk-to-dawn curfew in Bassa and Jos South local government to curtail total breakdown of law and order. The stakeholders consequently arrived on suggestions which include 1. Prompt arrest and decisive punishment of suspected perpetrators of attacks through diligent prosecution. 2. Strengthening of community policing structure for intelligence gathering and early warning pending the approval of state policing. 3. Payment of compensation to victims of various crises and rehabilitation of displaced persons. 4. Continuous dialogue and engagement among various communities and conflict groups through the facilitation of peace-building agency and the State Interreligious Council. 5. More involvement of the traditional rulers in governance and defined constitutional roles. 6. Arrest of and prosecution of those making inflammatory statements and circulating fake news and hate content. 7. Decisive action against religious community and traditional leaders preaching hate or inciting people to violence. 8. Caution against incriminate granting bail to persons suspected in attacks as well as politicization of crimes. 9. Appreciated the roles played by President Buhari, governors of Ondo and Bauchi, Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi, Christian Association of Nigeria, Jamaatul Nasser Islam, other religious and community leaders and security agencies for their roles in calming the situation and stopping the situation from escalating. The meeting was attended by former Governor Dunajang, Chairman of the Plateau Council of Chiefs, and Emir His Majesty the Bongwom Jos, the Jacob Jan Buba, National State Assembly members, and religious leaders. And staying with security issues, the newly deployed Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 6 Headquarters, Calabar, Usman Sule Gomna, is appealing for synergy between the police and the people for improved security operations in Cross River State and the zone. The AIG said this at a familiarization visit to Governor Ben Ayade in Calabar. Paul Ibel has details.
The AIG says it is necessary to give respect to the state chief executive, hence his visit to Governor Ben Ayade and deliberations on how to improve upon the security architecture of the state and zone. He says his mission is to make security better, but needs the support of the people in providing information to forestall any security breach in the state.
I want to call on the people of the state to give us that needed support. We need it. We cannot do it alone. We must do it together. They must come to us with information so that gives us a better chance to execute whatever we have on ground. So I sincerely want to appeal to the people of this state to come closer to us, to partner with us so that we can succeed.
The AIG promises to employ various security strategies to keep the zone safe. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
Nigeria and Sierra Leone are collaborating to boost security in the West African sub-region. To this end, the Minister of Internal Affairs of that country and Nigeria's Minister of Police Affairs met to strengthen the security architecture and support each other. Francis Form reports.
This exchange of souvenir and smiles accompanying it shows the satisfaction of both Sierra Leonean Minister of Internal Affairs and Nigeria's Minister of Police Affairs after a meeting to consolidate on a long-standing relationship between both countries and build new areas of cooperation.
And if we have a seamless police officers who understand the region, who understand the sub-region, then when crimes are happening, we will know immediately. We just went to your command and control center, and we're very impressed by what we saw.
So this kind of synergy that we're trying to promote will go a long way in promoting the efforts we are making to secure our sub-region and to secure Africa at large.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has signed cooperation agreement with his Sierra Leone counterparts to improve police services in both countries. Nigeria has been supporting the country in capacity building since 1996.
We must continue to appreciate Nigeria. As earlier said, that those officers that went to Nigeria today, some of them are in the strategic command in the Sierra Leone police, giving their best.
We shall sustain our collaboration and will keep supporting them in the area of training and capacity building at all levels.
Nigeria Police Force has been working towards sustaining relationship with other West African law enforcement partners to form common fronts in tackling crime and criminality for improved public safety and security. Francis from NTA News.
And being the first to establish national platform on cross-border program in the ECOWAS sub-region, Nigeria is building on the success it is gaining on the vision to combat terrorism and other trans-border organized crimes. Foreign Desk correspondent Usman Aliyu reports.
Leaders of ECOWAS believe that cross-border cooperation is superior to unilateral action in the development of regions and the facilitation of much-desired integration. Well, that's their consensus at their high-level engagements, as explained by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs at the inauguration of Nigeria's cross-border program.
In spite of the various policies that tend to emphasize the primacy of borders as barriers to regional integration, Nigeria has spared no effort in bringing its neighbors together in the region and giving leadership by example in trans-border management.
The benefits of this new plan are enormous.
Nigeria is a powerhouse of ECOWAS, and most of the corridors that involve Nigeria, like the Maradi Katsina corridor or the Semi-Krake corridor, are some of the major corridors that we have in West Africa. The volume of goods and services and movement of people within the corridors is very, very enormous.
With this cooperation with our neighbors, it will help to ensure security and management of borders for the benefit of Nigeria and her neighbors.
The Cross-Border Cooperation Support Program 2021-2025 is expected to consolidate on the relations between Nigeria and her neighbors. Usman Aliu, NTA News.
Taking you now to Katsina State, where Governor Aminu Bello Masari is calling on the Nigerian Customs Service to conduct full-scale investigation into the circumstances that led to the death of 10 persons and left many others injured when a border drill vehicle lost control while on official duty along Jiba town. The governor made the plea when the delegation of the Comptroller General of the service paid him a condolence visit. Shehu Adamu reports.
National Border Drill Operation is a federal government exercise which came into effect in 2019 to ensure strict compliance to the closure of the nation's land borders, to strengthen border security and suppress smuggling activities. The drill is being coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, with operatives drawn from other security agencies and the Nigerian Customs Service as the lead agency. Reacting to the incident which led to the death of 10 people, with many injured as a result of suspected brake failure in one of the vehicles of the Sector 4 unit of the drill while on official duty at Jiba border town, Governor Aminu Bello Masari requested for full-scale investigation and compensation be paid to the families of the deceased and that of the injured. The governor therefore advised border security to always utilize intelligence and involve border communities in the fight against smuggling rather than chasing defaulters with vehicles into densely populated areas to avoid occurrence of similar incident. The leader of the Nigerian Customs Delegation, Acting Assistant Controller General of Customs, Muhammad Ubagarba, said investigation is ongoing and officers found wanting will be punished.
You see, the problem we're having with the border community is now they have been having trade relations long ago, right from their forefathers. So one government brings in policies for the protection of the economy, and the security agencies want to implement such policies. Now the people, the community, the border people, they will see this community, the security agencies are trying to block them from getting their livelihood.
At the palace of the Emir of Katsina, the delegation interacted with the families of the deceased, while the Emir Abdulmumin Kabir Usman called on all security operatives to always involve traditional rulers in the fight against criminal activities. The Acting Assistant Controller General of Customs later visited the injured persons receiving treatment at a private hospital in Katsina and pledged the continued commitment of the service to settle their bills until they are fully recovered. In Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We'll take a short break now. There will be more reports when we return. Just stay. You're welcome back, and you're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. For its efforts at stimulating and developing African trade, including its many engagements in Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has commended the African Export-Import Bank while interacting with a delegation from the bank led by its president, Professor Benedict Orama. The vice president expressed satisfaction with the work done by the bank and the interest shown in areas such as health, infrastructure, trade facilitation, and tourism, among others. State House correspondent Judy Unifade reports.
Afrexim, as explained by the delegation, is investing in trade and health infrastructure and is also involved in the procurement and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines to African countries, including Nigeria, to enable the continent to achieve high immunity. The bank is also planning to establish national quality assurance centers in parts of the country in order to support and upgrade exports of commodities from Nigeria. The Vice President said it is important because one of the problems the country has had with exports is really the problem of quality assurance and making sure that there are facilities to test the export products and get all of the agencies working together. While thanking the bank for its support, Vice President Osinbajo noted that the federal government's programs in the micro, small and medium enterprises sector, particularly in the Shared Facility Initiative under the National MSMEs Clinic, are important and deserving of AFREXIM's backing. He said the initiative, which is implemented in collaboration with state governments and aimed at developing manufacturing clusters across the country, could be enhanced through partnership with the bank. Earlier in his presentation on some of the bank's projects across Nigeria, Orama said AFREXIM has plans of investing in important sectors of the Nigerian economy, including health. The chief executive officer also disclosed an arrangement under the AFREXIM Bank facility to deliver 400 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines to Nigeria over a short period of time. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
How realistic are the budgeting parameters when compared with global and local economic indices? These are some of the areas of concern as the executive and legislature assess projections on expenditure and fiscal strategies from 2022 to 2024. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the House of Representatives public hearing on MTEF.
The House of Representatives received the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper 2022 to 2024, detailing basic estimates and assumptions for the budget for the next 3 years on the 8th of July 2021. This interaction, which involves 83 ministries, departments and agencies of government with the House Committee on Finance, is to ensure that all options on the table are fine-tuned to absorb economic shocks and other dynamics, whether imminent or unexpected. The aim is to ensure that robust development plans do not suffer distractions during implementation, as is the experience due to COVID-19 pandemic.
Let no one be in doubt of our commitment as the ninth House of Representatives to live up to that responsibility by exercising the full extent of our authority as it relates to the appropriations process and oversight.
I therefore advise to scale down on what elephant projects contained in the budget proposals as a way of shoring up revenue for critical infrastructure and development of capital resources that have direct impact on the people.
The total fiscal deficit that we had in the 2021 budget is 4.891 trillion. This is slightly higher than the 4.64 trillion that we are projecting in 2022. So when you look at the MTEF, you find that the deficit is beginning to decline from 2022 right through to 2023 and 2024.
The forum will enable exchange of ideas and bring to the surface underlying challenges in the overall performance of the economy across sectors.
Much as we have been conservative in projecting revenues, we still see that we are underperforming in revenues. So it means we are relying increasingly on borrowing to finance the activities of government. There's hardly anything we can do to completely stop the smuggling of fuel outside this country, because they use the creeps, they use land borders, they use virtually everything that is possible, and customs is not everywhere. We can't be everywhere. So for us to be able to mitigate against this, we must begin to think out of the box.
More MDAs will make an appearance before the committee as the October timeline of budget presentation draws near. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Nigeria's inflation rate drops to 17.38% in July 2021 as Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, leads fight against abuse of the naira. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for more details.
The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) says headline inflation fell to 17.38% in July 2021, which is 0.37% lower when compared to 17.75% recorded in June. According to the NBS report, food inflation declined to 21.03% compared to 21.83% recorded in the previous month, while core inflation stood at 13.73%, up by 0.63% compared to 13.09% recorded in the previous month. The NBS premised the rise in the food index in June to increase in the prices of milk, cheese and eggs, coffee, tea and cocoa, vegetables, bread and cereals, soft drinks and meat. In another development, the Central Bank of Nigeria has said it will prosecute individuals who blatantly abuse the naira by hurling bundles of naira notes in the air and matching the currency at social events. A statement by the bank's acting director of corporate communications, Osita Nwanisobi, indicates that the Apex Bank is also aware that some people mishandle, deface, and sometimes hawk the currency. He states further that Section 213 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, as amended, stipulates that spraying of the naira, dancing on it, constitute its abuse and shall be punishable under the law by fines or imprisonment or both. Consequently, the Apex Bank is collaborating with the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS), the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU) to tame those involved in the unpatriotic act. With Business News, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
The Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, just signed by President Muhammadu Buhari, has continued to be applauded by key players who describe it as key to positioning Nigeria as one of Africa's top energy markets by integrating 16 petroleum laws into one comprehensive and distinct document. The act provides a clear framework to boost oil and gas output in the country. Lydia Sampson reports that Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, had an interface with journalists in Abuja on his 2-year stewardship, revealed that more on the Petroleum Act will be unveiled at the Federal Executive Council meeting by President himself.
Records indicates that much has been achieved in the oil and gas sector under Timothy Silva's 2-year stewardship, from the auto gas policy to a declaration of decade of gas, all targeting monetization of Nigeria's huge untapped gas resources, to the latest, which is the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act by President Muhammadu Buhari. Timothy, who justified the 3% allocation to host communities, however, insists that more on the act will be unveiled at the Federal Executive Council meeting.
For us in the Niger Delta, I asked them, 3% of something, is that not better than 100% of what you don't know? What we want to achieve, the philosophy behind this bill, is to attract investors to Nigeria, to produce as much of this crude in the ground as possible.
As the industry commences operations under the Act, he says, despite COVID-19 pandemic-induced recession, the sector has surpassed its targeted 9 mandates.
When we started in 2019, the president handed down 9 mandate areas. So far, I can tell you without fear of favor that we have ticked all the boxes, from eradicating cross-border smuggling or PMS, the completing the gas flare commercialization and LPG penetration, increase the crude oil production, reduce cost of oil production by at least 5%, facilitate the passage of the PIB.
The minister, who acknowledged that pump price will be increased under the new regime, however, says the increase is not immediate. He's optimistic that the act will truly be a game changer in the industry. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
The federal government is reaffirming commitment to the full utilization of dams across the country and ensuring that Nigeria attains targets on water supply and food security. Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, stated this at the official launch of the compendium and digital maps of dams and irrigation schemes across the country, as well as code of practice for dam reservoir operation in Nigeria. Olusheye Adiagbo has details.
These compendiums indicate that Nigeria now has 408 dams, while the country's irrigation scheme are 333. The documents were produced alongside digital maps to provide better interaction for data users, as they can now access details on water resources infrastructure at the click of the mouse. Beyond the provision of accurate location, features and status of water infrastructure across the country, these materials also contain information on how they are used. The Code of Practice for Dam Reservoir Operation in Nigeria is another vital document.
This document has been developed to ensure that our dams are performing safely and according to their design purposes. The document, which shall be adapted to every dam reservoir in the country, also prescribes penalties for violation of any of the provisions of the code.
Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu says this information will aid effective planning, design, and monitoring of Nigeria's water resources infrastructure.
It's a living document. It's going to continue to be updated so that at any time, anybody looking for information about dams, about irrigation in Nigeria will have that information in his hand.
Most of these structures constructed have practice modes. You have to follow such guidelines for the operation. If you don't operate them very well, instead of providing the lucrative outcome of it, it will provide danger.
It is a wonderful document, and it is only the Ministry of Water Resources that has championed and painstakingly put together such a document that has taken many, many years to put together.
It has been 6 years since Suleiman Adamu assumed office as the Minister of Water Resources, and this document, Swimming Against the Tide, highlights key successes and milestones of the ministry under its leadership. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Please stay tuned for more reports after this break.